Have you ever felt like you're going through something deep, something transformative, but at the same time, your body is reacting as if something is wrong, like it's resisting, freezing up, sending signals you can't quite understand? This happens more often than people realize, and it doesn't mean something is going wrong. In fact, it might be the opposite. During spiritual awakening, attention usually turns to the invisible, consciousness, soul, energy, intuition. But there's a paradox here. While many aim to transcend the body as if it were just a disposable vehicle, they end up ignoring the signs the body itself is sending. The body isn't just part of the awakening, it awakens too. And it does so intensely, sometimes uncomfortably, sometimes silently, but always meaningfully. For thousands of years, spiritual teachings were shaped by doctrines that glorified the spirit and denied the physical. Detaching from the body was seen as a step toward the sacred. But what if that's incomplete? What if the physical discomfort during awakening isn't a flaw in the process, but an essential part of it? Every cell, every heartbeat, every nerve impulse carries intelligence, and that intelligence responds when consciousness begins to expand. The problem is that in the rush to evolve spiritually, many people ignore the signs of the body. They mistake symptoms of transformation for imbalance. They try to silence the body when what it wants is to be heard. Maybe you're trying to align spiritually, meditating, studying, expanding your awareness. But at the same time, you're facing strange sensations, intense emotions, unexplainable symptoms. That doesn't mean you're moving away from the light. In many cases, it's exactly the opposite. It's your body trying to keep up with the frequency of your new state of consciousness. Most people expect awakening to bring peace, clarity, and lightness, and it does. But before that, it brings recalibration, and that recalibration happens mainly through the body. You can't expand your energy without it affecting your physical systems. The body feels first. It adjusts, removes, cleanses, and in many cases, it screams. So this video is here to remind you of something essential that hardly anyone talks about. Your body hasn't been left behind in your spiritual process. It's involved down to the last strand of DNA. It feels energy waves. It responds to new codes of perception. It's sensitive to changes in the field. The body doesn't need to be transcended. It needs to be included. So instead of asking why your body is reacting this way, maybe the more important question is, what exactly is awakening within me? And why is my body feeling it so intensely right now? That's when we begin to realize that spiritual awakening isn't just a journey of the soul. It's a journey that moves through the body and transforms everything it holds, represents, and supports. Spiritual awakening directly impacts every part of you, not just your thoughts or your energy, but your nervous system, your breath, your heart, your skin, your organs, your physical structure. Nothing truly changes if the body isn't included. And more than that, awakening isn't about leaving the body. It's about inhabiting every part of it with more awareness than ever before. That's the starting point. And the body is the first to feel when something inside you is about to change forever. If we look closely, there's something odd in the way many treat the human body during awakening. It's seen, in many cases, as an obstacle, a burden to overcome, something that must be tamed, punished, or denied. The body by nature feels, reacts, desires, it ages, gets tired, gets sick. And because of that, it's become normal to associate the body with the limits of existence. It's often linked to sin, weakness, desire, and pain. So for many, the body is seen as something to be ignored or punished in the name of spiritual growth. And gradually, talking about the soul became the priority, while little was said about the physical space that holds it. The spiritual experience became more mental, more energetic, and less embodied. But does this separation still make sense? As consciousness expands, it starts to question everything, including the old concepts we were taught as absolute truths. And when we look closer, we see that this ancient rejection of the body created a gap. An important part of the inner journey was left out, because even when consciousness expands, it needs to stabilize in the body. And even when the eyes of the mind open to the subtle, it's in the physical systems that this transformation needs to be supported. And that creates a deep disconnection between spirituality and presence, between consciousness and embodied reality. And it's this disconnection that's been making it hard for many people to fully integrate during their spiritual awakening. The body isn't an obstacle to expanding consciousness. The body is the field where that expansion shows up. It's through the body that we feel, react, perceive, and anchor internal changes. When there's real spiritual progress, it needs to be registered in the body. And if it isn't, something is blocking the flow. Have you ever felt like you're evolving, but at the same time more tired, more sensitive, more emotionally unstable? That's not a sign of regression. In many cases, it's your body trying to release old conditioning. The body is an extension of consciousness, not a prison for it. It's not stopping you from awakening. It's trying to keep up. But after being ignored for so long, it needs attention. It needs to be heard. It needs integration. The question now isn't whether the body should be part of spirituality, but how you've been relating to your body within your spiritual practice. Do you listen to it or silence it? Do you honor it or overload it? Do you see it as an ally or as an obstacle? Many people today are going through spiritual awakening and experiencing physical, emotional, or sensory symptoms they can't explain. They search for answers but often don't find clear explanations for what's happening in their own body during this process. And that lack of understanding can create confusion, frustration, and even resistance to what is actually a natural process of adaptation. The body isn't a problem in spiritual awakening. It's the space where that awakening becomes real. And when the body is included, everything changes. Energy flows more naturally. Changes become more integrated, and the process stops being just an expansion of perception and becomes a real, complete transformation. This is when we begin to see that spirituality doesn't need to happen outside the body. On the contrary, it deepens when we start to inhabit the body with more awareness, more presence, and more respect. And as the body participates in the awakening, it reveals not only what needs to be healed, but also everything that's ready to be activated. Everything perceived internally needs, at some level, to be expressed physically. The body feels what the mind hasn't named yet. It reacts even before consciousness understands what is changing. That's why, when we talk about spiritual awakening, we're not just talking about a silent inner expansion. We're talking about a total restructuring that inevitably moves through biology. Every process of consciousness expansion triggers changes in the body. The nervous system responds, heart rate shifts, the energetic field adjusts. Even when nothing visible seems to be happening, the body is redesigning its own patterns to keep up with the new frequency. It rewires circuits, activates memories, releases stored tension, and rebalances what's been out of alignment. All of this happens because the body has its own intelligence, and that intelligence is constantly communicating with consciousness. Some people see the body as just a biological machine, programmed for basic survival functions. But in truth, it works like a translator of subtle realities. It absorbs energetic stimuli, interprets information from the surrounding field, and responds with precision. This capacity is often overlooked, but it becomes sharper during awakening. And the more you notice this sensitivity, the more you understand that the body isn't reacting against you, it's moving with you. Some transformations happen gently, others bring discomfort, but all of them have a purpose: to realign. Because to sustain a new state of consciousness, the body must operate at a different level of organization. That takes energy, adaptation, and release. It's not always a linear process. Sometimes the body shows symptoms that seem random but are directly tied to this quiet reconfiguration. It's common, for instance, for old energetic blockages stored over a lifetime to start dissolving. And when that happens, the body responds with fatigue, aches, intense emotions. These signals are forms of communication. The body is trying to show where there's still resistance, where unprocessed memories remain, where space is needed for the new to settle. Many try to silence these responses. They try to force the body to keep up with the mind, without realizing that their rhythms are different. But that attempt to control only creates more tension. That's why it's necessary to understand that the body doesn't need to be pushed. It needs to be listened to more attentively. And when that happens, the awakening process becomes more integrated, more fluid. That's when you begin to clearly notice where awakening is starting to affect the physical systems more deeply. Because while the whole body is part of the journey, certain areas tend to respond first to the call of consciousness. And in those areas, the signs become more obvious. At certain moments in life, you may have felt your heart racing for no clear reason. It wasn't fear or physical exertion. It was as if something inside you was moving, long before the mind could understand. And in fact, it was. The heart is perhaps one of the first structures in the body to respond to the call of consciousness, not just because of the blood flow that sustains the body, but because it also conducts energy and interprets what the eyes can't yet see. During spiritual awakening, it's common for the heart center, also known as the heart chakra, to go through a sudden or gradual opening. This opening activates deep emotional circuits, releases long-held content, and truly changes the way the body feels. In this context, the heart is no longer just a physical organ. It becomes the soul's emotional translator. Many repressed emotions from throughout life accumulate in this center. Old sadness, long-held grief, pain that was never processed. As consciousness expands, this material begins to rise, and when it does, the heart feels it first. It beats harder, changes rhythm, alters breathing patterns, creates sensations in the chest that can be confusing. What seemed like just a symptom is often the body processing what was stuck. But the heart isn't only about emotional release. It's also a refined center of perception. In heightened states of sensitivity, you can feel when a space is heavy, when someone is in pain, or when there's something invisible affecting the energy around you. And interestingly, it's not the mind that picks it up first. It's the heart, a tightness in the chest, a shift in breathing, a feeling of contraction. All of it is your body signaling that something needs attention. At this level of perception, the heart becomes an intuitive radar. It doesn't just feel what's going on inside you. It reads the environment, and because of that, it often becomes more sensitive during awakening. Some people report episodes of unexplained palpitations, a sense of emptiness in the chest, or localized waves of heat. These signs can indicate that energy is reorganizing to allow for greater emotional flow. And here's something often overlooked. Spiritual expansion doesn't happen without emotional expansion. And the center that regulates this opening is the heart. It's the bridge between intuition and the body, between soul and breath. When the heart opens, it's not just your feelings that shift. It's the way you connect with everything around you. For many, this process can feel unstable. After all, it's uncomfortable to have an exposed, vulnerable heart, sensitive to things you didn't even notice before. But it's precisely that sensitivity that marks the beginning of a new kind of presence. A presence that's more whole, more aware, more aligned with what you truly feel, even if it doesn't yet make rational sense. And when that opening begins, It doesn't stop with the heart. It affects the whole system that integrates emotion, perception, and the body. Because the energy that flows through the heart connects directly to other structures involved in this transition, and not all of them are visible through ordinary senses. While the heart feels, the nervous system interprets. It's the nervous system that decodes, through impulses, everything your consciousness begins to perceive as it awakens. Every sensation in your body, every sudden mood swing, every energy shift, all of it is processed first through your nervous system. And when that system starts to function on a new level of perception, it begins to show signs that it's trying to reorganize itself. During spiritual awakening, the nervous system goes through an intense adaptation process. That's because it has to handle a much larger volume of energetic information than it's used to. Sensations that once went unnoticed start to become very clear. Your body becomes more sensitive to sound, light, atmosphere, vibration. Everyday situations begin to feel overwhelming. Normal interactions can suddenly feel energetically charged, and the body responds to all of this as if it's constantly on high alert. This hypersensitivity is the natural result of an awareness that's more open and awake. But for the nervous system, this increased perception can be interpreted as a threat. And when it doesn't understand what's happening, it activates the fight or flight response. That's when episodes of anxiety, insomnia, racing thoughts, or a constant feeling of being on edge start to appear, even when nothing is visibly happening. The mind tries to rationalize it, but the body is working with a different kind of data: frequency. It's picking up shifts in the field, reading environmental information, and accessing inner memories. And this requires the nervous system to reorganize so it can learn to distinguish between true danger and a subtle energetic process. Without that distinction, it's easy to fall into cycles of exhaustion, hyperactivity, or even internal confusion. Over time, and with more awareness, the system begins to find new patterns of stability. It starts to recognize the new signs as part of the process, not as danger. And when that happens, the nervous system exits survival mode and enters a state of integration. That's when many people report a new sense of inner calm, even in the face of challenges, a more constant presence, a clarity that becomes more accessible. But before that balance arrives, there's often a period where the body overreacts, sounds become irritating, touch feels more intense, breathing changes, thoughts race, everything feels amplified, and that's exactly what's happening. The nervous system is expanding its capacity, not just to read the outside world, but the inner world too. This expansion has a direct impact on how you perceive reality. What used to seem purely physical now carries emotional, energetic, even intuitive layers. And it's this expanded perception that reveals how the body doesn't just feel or react. It translates frequencies. And among all the structures involved in this translation, one stands out for organizing your internal function at an even deeper level. The brain is shaped by repetition. Everything you think, believe, feel, and experience repeatedly creates neural pathways. These paths largely determine how you interpret the world, how you respond to situations, and even how you see yourself. But when a spiritual awakening happens, those paths start to be questioned and gradually replaced. This is one of the most delicate moments of transformation. It's when the mental structure that used to support your identity begins to dissolve. At this stage of spiritual awakening, it's not about forgetting who you are, it's about facing what you thought you were. The brain, which once operated based on conditioned memories, protective patterns, and repeated beliefs, now has to reorganize to keep up with the new awareness that's emerging. This process can be intense. It's common for old memories to surface unexpectedly. Beliefs that once felt solid begin to lose their meaning. You may experience moments of confusion, disorientation, or even a mental emptiness that can feel scary. The feeling of not knowing what to think or who you are isn't a loss. It's space. Space where old neural circuits are being dismantled so new ones can form. This moment is often called the ego death. And while the name sounds dramatic, it describes a very real experience, the breakdown of the mental character that was created to survive in the world. That character, built out of a need for control, protection, and approval, begins to lose strength, and with it, many of the mental habits that kept your reality stable start to dissolve too. At this point, the brain is being reprogrammed. Old neural networks deactivate, and new ones, more aligned with your evolving awareness, start to form. It's a slow change, but a deep one. And the more you allow this reconstruction to unfold without clinging to the old ideas, the lighter the process becomes. The mind stops being just a center of thought and starts becoming a partner in creating a new reality. This realignment doesn't only happen in the realm of ideas, it directly influences your physical body. When dense mental patterns dissolve, the nervous system relaxes, breathing deepens, heartbeat stabilizes. This shows that the brain isn't isolated. It's connected to everything else happening in the body. And when it changes, the whole body changes with it. But there's an even subtler aspect to this process. As the old self's structures collapse, the possibility of accessing higher states of perception opens, not as something mystical, but as something that was always there, just hidden under mental noise. And in this new state, the body starts to function in a more integrated way, with internal systems communicating more coherently. Among these systems, there's one that acts as a messenger between energy centers and physical organs, a silent but essential mechanism that translates emotional and spiritual states into biochemical signals. It regulates the body with precision and feels every vibrational shift deeply. There's information that doesn't come through language or logic, yet still shapes your emotions, your internal states, and how you react to the world. This information flows through your body in the form of hormones, substances that regulate everything from your energy level to your ability to feel safe, joyful, or clear. During spiritual awakening, these subtle messengers also go through a reorganization. Hormones don't just follow biology, they respond to energetic movement. Each energy center, or chakra, is linked to specific glands in the body, and these glands produce the hormones that support emotional and physiological states. So when a chakra opens, blocks, or recalibrates, the hormonal activity linked to it also shifts. This explains why so many people in the awakening process report hormonal changes, disrupted sleep, appetite swings, emotional highs and lows, or changes in biological cycles. These aren't always just physiological imbalances. They can be direct reflections of how energy is being redistributed in the body. The endocrine system, which manages these substances, acts as a mirror of your energetic field in transition. Have you ever found yourself swinging between moments of intense vitality and, shortly after, a deep exhaustion that seems to come out of nowhere? Or felt sudden sadness, unusual irritability, or strange waves of euphoria followed by apathy, all without a clear reason? These fluctuations aren't random. They're closely tied to how your hormones are trying to readjust to reflect a new state of consciousness. Among the most sensitive glands in this process are the adrenal glands, responsible for producing stress hormones like cortisol. During emotional purification or energetic openings, these glands may become more active, triggering temporary states of alertness in the body. But over time, as the energy stabilizes and the chakras realign, hormonal production also tends to find a new balance. There's a deep wisdom in the way hormones operate, and understanding this is essential so you don't mistake these hormonal shifts for your body failing, but rather recognize them as part of your natural adjustment into a new state of being. When this new perspective settles in, you begin to see your body with more patience and awareness. You start to understand that each fluctuation is part of a reconstruction, that your hormonal system isn't sabotaging your progress. It's actually trying to stabilize a new version of you, a version that, little by little, is learning to self-regulate based on a more coherent, stable, and aligned field, one that's more in tune with who you truly are. And as this alignment begins to take hold, your internal signals become clearer, your mind becomes more focused, your body responds more fluidly, and this refinement opens the door for even deeper layers of transformation to begin expressing themselves physically. Layers that exist in the subtle border between protection and renewal, where the body starts working precisely to eliminate everything that no longer matches your new frequency. When the body begins to integrate a new consciousness, it also initiates a process of release, and the immune system is one of the first lines of response in this adjustment. It doesn't just fight off external threats, it regulates, purifies, and reorganizes internal imbalances. That's why, during spiritual awakening, it's common to experience physical symptoms like extended fatigue, recurring inflammation, mild fevers, or temporary imbalances, even when there's no clear medical cause. These symptoms reflect your body's effort to purge what no longer resonates with your current frequency. The immune system ramps up, often dealing not just with microbes but with energetic residues, stored emotional memories, and accumulated tensions. It's a kind of vibrational detox, where your body is trying to reorganize everything that's been stagnant for too long. And the more new energy comes in, the more space the body needs to make. It expels what was preventing it from holding a higher frequency. In this process, the body is preparing to receive the new, and this preparation happens silently, but deeply. At this stage, another part of your body begins to stand out, a system that few people are aware of, but one that actively participates in the integration of deep memories and long-held records. The fascia is a network of connective tissue that surrounds all muscles, organs, and body structures. While it's commonly known for its structural role, its function goes far beyond biomechanics. It also acts as a physical storage field for experiences, including those you don't consciously remember. Repressed sensations, emotional trauma, and unresolved pain are often held within this silent tissue. During spiritual awakening, it's common for the fascia to become more rigid or sensitive. That's because, as your frequency rises, your body is trying to unlock patterns that have been stored for years or even lifetimes. Fascial stiffness isn't just muscular. It can represent memories your body hasn't processed yet. And when those memories begin to surface, they're accompanied by unexpected physical sensations, localized tension, unexplained pain, waves of heat, or even sudden emotional releases. The wisdom of the fascia lies in this. It only holds what still needs to be seen. And when the body is ready, that information becomes accessible, not through thought, but through sensation. Releasing the fascia, through body awareness and welcoming the emotions it carries, allows your body to become lighter, looser, and more available to hold the new level of consciousness being activated. And by releasing these deeper layers of holding, the body creates a more open, fluid, and receptive internal space. A space where it's no longer necessary to carry the weight of the past. Just allow presence to become your new center of balance. All of this inner movement, the heart's expansion, the nervous system's sensitivity, the brain's reprogramming, hormonal adjustments, immune cleansing, and fascial release, serves one shared purpose: to help your body hold this new consciousness with stability. But it doesn't happen automatically. For awakening to become integrated, the body must be included, actively, respectfully, and consciously. Honoring the body isn't about chasing perfect health or reaching a flawless physical state. It's about recognizing that your body has its own language, and it's always communicating. Symptoms aren't interruptions, they're messages. Fatigue isn't failure, it's realignment. Strange sensations, appetite changes, shifts in biological rhythm, all of it is part of the process. And the more you pay attention to these signs, the clearer your path becomes. During this kind of transition, your body needs support, not just physical, but energetic too. Small pauses in your day, quiet moments, conscious breathing, and more time in nature can make a bigger difference than you imagine. Not because these practices heal the body, but because they create the internal conditions for your body to do what it already knows how to do: reorganize. Many people try to speed up the spiritual process with mental effort, but they forget that the body doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to listening. And the more it's listened to, the more it cooperates. Integration doesn't demand perfection. It requires cooperation. It requires awareness of your cycles, patience with your fluctuations, and humility in the face of your natural physical limits. Because it's within those very limits that expansion takes root. And when you create that space of listening, your body becomes clearer, more intuitive, more aligned with the impulses of your consciousness. Life stops being lived only from the head outward and starts being experienced from within. With more connection, more truth, and above all, more coherence between what you feel, what you think, and what you do. It's in this state that awakening stops being just a spiritual concept and becomes an embodied reality. Because in the end, it's not about escaping the human experience. It's about living it more consciously. And nothing makes that more clear than the body itself, when it becomes a full reflection of the consciousness that inhabits it. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.